Heckington Windmill on the edge of the Lincolnshire fens is a sight to behold, with its magnificent 8 sails and its striking black tower. It's a landmark of early eco-power. The windmill was built by a millwright in 1830, originally with 5 sails for its owner Michael Hare, who tragically died when he was a young man. It was inherited by his widow, who passed it on to a new husband. Now, some 60 years later, a very strong storm blew off all the sails and the mechanism, leaving the windmill derelict. Its saviour was to be a local lad, a Lincolnshire chap called John Pocklington. Pocklington was a miller himself and bought an 8-sail windmill from nearby Boston docks for the princely sum of £72.10. In his spare time, and taking over a year, Pocklington moved the sails and the machinery to this site. It's been an 8-sailed windmill ever since. The brilliant thing about Heckington Windmill is it's the only working one of its kind in Western Europe, possibly in the world. Now, windmills with 8 sails are extremely rare because they're very expensive to build and maintain compared to the ones with 5 sails. Anyway, with 5 floors to explore, it's only right that I start at the top. The tower of the windmill is 60 feet high. It's 100 feet if you include the full length of the sail. Where I'm standing now is right in the cap. This whole section actually revolves with the aid of a fantail which sticks out quite a few feet to catch the wind. And when it's found the right direction, then the wind will put power into the sails. And as these sails turn like this, they turn these massive, great big cogs which just articulate like that. That in turn drives that thing there. That is your drive shaft. That's the engine room. That's what you've got to harness all the power from. Imagine getting this all up here. It must have been a colossal task with block and tackle and cart horses, really, because there were no cranes or scaffolding back then. 25 tons of it. But by the early 1900s, milling for wheat in windmills was virtually a redundant business. So millers had to look for work elsewhere. So what did John Pocklington do when the demand for flour decreased? Well, I can tell you, he was an entrepreneur, a very clever man. He built a sawmill adjacent to the windmill, and that ran off the power from the wind. He'd harness this drive shaft up with lots of drive belts, which would in turn power the huge, great big circular saw blades. He was also a farmer, so he installed a cattle feed mixer, which he used on his farm and many other farms. And if that wasn't enough, out the back there, he ran a coal merchant's business. He transported coal down from Yorkshire and Nottingham and then distributed it to all the local houses. But more than anything, John just loved this wonderful structure, an architectural delight, which he just used to gaze at, even from the garden, watching the wind spill through the sails. He died in 1941, and now the County Council own this wonderful windmill. This is a Grade 1 listed building, but it's still in use. Special care has been taken to restore and maintain it. The tower is painted in black tar to keep out the moisture. And on the sails, special permission was granted to use original style lead paint to repaint them.
Shane moving!
Jeff Wise and Jim Bailey are volunteers, in their own words, gentlemen millers, who have learnt the process of milling the grain and turning it into flour. As the mill is undergoing repairs, they've got time to show me the ropes. Hi guys, thanks for talking to me today. Firstly, I've got to ask you, Jim, we're on the stone floor, so how does the grain get ground into flour? What's the process?
When the sails are turning, it drives this large spur wheel around. That then connects to the drive coming down here, which turns the stones.
Right.
That's what grinds the wheat into flour.
I don't understand why people wanted white bread. I know you make both here, don't you?
Yes.
Wholemeal and white, and basically wholemeal is just all the goodness bashed out of it for white bread, isn't it?
It is, but as a demonstration of wealth, if you could afford to buy an expensive flour, you did. Therefore, a rich person would have white bread, white cakes on his table as a demonstration of wealth.
Is that what it's all about?
It's
Do
exactly
you know,
what
I
it's
never
about.
knew that.
Everything that comes out of the stone is wholemeal. If you want white flour, you've got to separate the bran, and that takes special machinery, a special process.
Of course
it's
it
more
does.
expensive.
It's more labour intense. How many times a day do you go up these stairs?
Maybe 20 times or more in a day. Yes.
Gosh, it's no wonder you're fit.
And then we have to show the visitors around as well.
With a smile on your face. Wow, look at that. And the fruits of the windmill's labour and its loyal millers can be experienced right here in the tea gardens, just outside the tea rooms there, because that was John Pocklington's old house. And the cakes that are produced in there are made from the flour from his windmill, which is just a few metres away. So with virtually no food miles for the flour, eco-friendly, renewable energy, and this windmill's wonderful history, this place, even though it's not windy today, has completely blown me away.